Next up is Representative Greenman with House File 3794. And I will move House File 3794 to be laid before us. I also understand that there is an A4 amendment. I will move the A4 amendment. Representative Greenman, would you like to explain the amendment for us, please?
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back in Commerce. The A4 is an amendment that includes two things. One, it updates the language with feedback from the Attorney General's office and other stakeholders. And then it also includes a burden shifting provision that reflects the fact that companies are in complete control of the information and data that consumers or workers would need in order to determine if this is happening. And so it's just a burden shifting that allows that presumption and then companies to rebut the presumption with the data.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor of the A4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion prevails. All right. Representative Greenman, to your bill as amended.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be back here in Commerce to protect consumers, small businesses, and competitive markets from this predatory pricing, surveillance price discrimination. So what is surveillance price discrimination? And I heard questions for examples. These are all real world examples. So imagine you pull into a Target parking lot, and you order a TV that costs, let's say, $500. And that's $100 more than the exact same TV if you ordered that TV from your home, from your device. Or you order groceries on Instacart and learn that your neighbor ordered the same groceries right next door and the same eggs and cereal are 13% less for them than for you. Or you go to a Starbucks, and you go to Starbucks a lot, so you sign up for a loyalty program thinking that it's about deals and discounts, only to learn, because of a California disclosure law, that you were actually offered less discounts, paying more, and your data was being shared with 64 other companies, likely sold as a product. These are real-world examples of how companies are using your personal data and high-tech AI tools right now to personalize prices based on the personal data that they've been collecting on all of us. So how does this work? Companies have been gobbling up all the information about us, and I'm sure that this committee has been talking a lot about what we do, about how we behave, anything they can get their hands on. They're buying it, they're scraping it, and they are putting billions of dollars in investments in pricing, technology, and experiments to determine how much we all are willing to pay for something. And then they are setting a personal price for you accordingly. To be clear, this is not pricing based on market forces, supply and demand, the cost of value and creating the goods plus a little profit. This is about pricing based on you, tailored to find the maximum amount you will pay and then charge you for it. So if you're a big company and you're in the business of generating revenue and making money, which is what companies are, this has appeal. You can increase your margins by charging some people more and making it very hard for customers to comparison shop on price to get the best deal. You've already invested significant amounts of money in collecting all sorts of information about your customers, and now you have the AI tools to determine how much they're willing to pay for something and offer the price to them. And the best part is, in most cases, because right now we're talking about online, but we know it's going retail, the people you're offering these prices to don't actually know what prices are being offered to other customers. And your small business competitors, if you're the big guys, can't compete. They don't have all this information. They haven't been acquiring these other giant companies or the data companies. They are not using price clearinghouses. So they don't know or are able to compete either. You can make a lot more money with surveillance pricing than just charging prices based on market research. And this isn't hypothetical. We've heard a lot of the advocacy groups saying it's hypothetical. I just gave you 3 examples. There's a bunch of reports in your packet about how this is happening today. The biggest businesses in the world are investing hundreds of billions of dollars to scale up their surveillance price gouging schemes. And they're quietly integrating this strategy into online retail platforms, but as Google announced, to AI chatbots too. This is a game changer for them. They are calling it the pricing revolution. But this revolution is being driven by big tech, Wall Street middlemen, and the retail giants at the expense of public, consumers, and small businesses. And the reason they're keeping it quiet is because consumers hate it. 84% of Americans said that they are concerned by AI-driven price gouging. It's just creepy. They're hoarding all this information on us. There's a black box that controls the prices, and they're giving us different prices than our neighbors. That just isn't fair. And so, well, these companies aren't telling regulators, they're not coming and telling us what they're doing, they're not telling the public. They have been bragging about this to their investors and to the corporate middlemen that are helping them do this. Corporate CEO consultant McKinsey said of surveillance pricing, it can enhance pricing to generate 2 to 7% points on sustained margin improvements. Listen to these investor calls. They're talking about why they're investing billions of dollars in this. Long story short, it's time to act before the price revolution leaves big tech in charge of prices and Minnesota consumers with less power and paying higher prices. That's why we need this bill. So what this bill does is it bans the practice of surveillance-based pricing and wage discrimination. It's defined, which is defined as automated decision-making to inform individual prices and wages, which is just the price of labor, based on surveillance data regarding the consumer or workers. It requires companies that are using this automated data to tell customers and the public about it. And the amendment I explained adds this burden shifting. What this bill does not do, it does not prevent companies from offering discounts to consumers based on supply and demand and market forces unrelated to people's individual personalized behavior. It does not prevent companies from offering discounts to common groups of people, to veterans and students and teachers that are clearly and conspicuously offered. If you want to offer a discount, people should hear about it and know about it. And that's available to everyone in the group. And it doesn't prevent offering discounts and memberships to customers that isn't individualized based on data they scraped and bought about you. So the real question is, why would we let these tech giants, these retail companies, spy on us and then use it to charge us more than our neighbors and to set prices? This is our chance. And as I heard in the last bill, the reason we need to act now is because it hasn't taken over our entire economy, but it is coming and it is here online. And so now is the time to act, to put some power back in the hands of Minnesota consumers and our small businesses. Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we have some testifiers.
Thank you very much. First up on our list is Justin Stoufferon, followed by Angela Schwaznettel. Welcome to the committee again. State your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Cagle. Chair Driscoll, for the record, I'm Justin Stoufferon at the Minnesota Farmers Union. I promise I won't totally repeat myself. I mentioned earlier that Farmers Union dates back to 1918, and our founding was part of farmers' efforts to ensure they received a fair price for what they produced. The fight for fair pricing dates back even further, though, to the 1870s, when farmers pushed for the Granger laws that were in part an effort to curb the personalized and discriminatory prices from railroads. That same era produced the price tag, establishing the uniform pricing consumers have come to expect, and it's key to a fair and democratic economy. Polling from the economic think tank Groundwork Collaborative finds that 83% of Americans believe that businesses should charge all customers the same price for the same item. Surveillance pricing threatens to undermine fairness by using opaque and predatory pricing strategies that undermine consumer liberty and price transparency, leading to higher costs on Minnesota families. Today presents an opportunity for the legislature to get out ahead of an anti-competitive practice that will thrive in what writer Cory Doctorow calls the, quote, vast underground empire of non-consensual data harvesting. Some surveillance pricing companies have boasted about their ability to predict things like when you'll get paid, suggesting a future where payday will also mean higher prices. Earlier this year, Google announced its move to integrate its AI platform Gemini into retail, including a service called Direct Offers, where businesses will pay to allow Google to set prices when it makes recommendations. It's not hard to see how a monopolist like Google, with its dominance over search and advertising, could turn this into a system of kickbacks and tacit collusion to the detriment of consumers and independent businesses. While we focused on consumers, powerful seed companies and fertilizer suppliers and other companies in agriculture are already squeezing farmers, what might they do with an AI price setting tool? All of this serves to create a marketplace where there are no true prices. To the discussion about discounts here today, that's also going to, if we don't know the true price of things, how do you know if you're getting a discount? In competitive markets, surveillance pricing would not be nearly as attractive a strategy, but in consolidated markets, this is a powerful mechanism for gouging buyers. Unfortunately, 3/4 of industries have become more consolidated since the 90s. The economy as a whole has grown 50% more consolidated since 2005. And at the current rate of consolidation, it's estimated by 2070, we'll have just one company per industry. As legislators discuss the issue of affordability, cracking down on surveillance pricing is a way to help address one of the root causes of our affordability crisis, the unfair pricing strategies being employed across the economy. I want to thank Representative Greenman for leadership on this issue, and MFU looks forward to working with members on this committee to create a fairer and more democratic economy that works for all Minnesotans. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Angela Schwaznettel. And then after that, we have Grace Gidi on Zoom. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. Hi, my name is Angela Schwaznettel. I own Moon Palace Books, a neighborhood bookstore in South Minneapolis. We opened in 2012, and one of the things I've worked really hard on since we opened was our website. Bookstores have the reputation of being a little old-fashioned, a little bit anti-tech, so it was really important to me to have a functional website that people could use to order books. And we work really hard to have all of our inventory up live on our website so that when people are shopping at 3 a.m., they can see exactly what we have in stock and what we don't. When they call and say, your website says you have 3 copies, I can say, if our website says we have 3 copies, we have 3 copies. There are a couple of changes we've seen recently in book selling. We've always had trouble with people coming in and looking for books that we're unable to order for them because they're published only on Amazon and are only available through them or through their exclusive ebook format. But lately, we've had people coming in looking for books that simply do not exist and have been made up by AI. Sometimes it's a book by their favorite author that they think they've somehow missed, and sometimes it's been recommended to them from ChatGPT or some other AI-written article that after much searching, it turns out that the title and the author have simply been made up. The other thing that happens is when we have a book like our best-selling nonfiction title, The Gales of November, The Untold Story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, that is currently only available in hardcover, and our customers, who like most people are price conscious, are searching for the book in a cheaper paper book format. When I search Gales of November paperback on Amazon, my top 3 results are books with the same title and similar covers, but with different authors that are using AI to publish a book that looks exactly like the book that everyone wants to read, but isn't. Now, if what you're into are shipwrecks, and you come into my store, and we are happy to sell you a book and recommend a book about shipwrecks. But what we won't do is charge you more because you like books on shipwrecks for those same books than other customers. And when my customers search for a book on our website, everybody gets the same result with a price that doesn't change depending on who they are, what data they may or may not have agreed to share. When they're searching for the same book on a retailer like Amazon, they may be getting different results and prices depending on who they are and how much the algorithm thinks it can get them to pay. They might get a cheaper result the first time they buy something, and then they always think they're going to get a better deal from that vendor, even if the algorithm has figured out that based on where they live or what their credit score is or some other mysterious combination of data, they're shown a higher price. I don't want my customers to be shown a cheaper price because they've stopped in my store to price compare or looked at my website. I don't want them to be shown a higher price than their neighbor who hasn't come to my store or checked out my website. I don't want that as a consumer, and I don't want that for my customers, for my competition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Grace Dehe, and she's on Zoom. If you could just introduce yourself for the committee and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair Cagle, Rep. Johnson, and honorable members of the committee. My name is Grace Getty, and I'm a policy analyst at Consumer Reports, where I focus on consumer protection issues in artificial intelligence policy. Consumer Reports is well known for testing vacuums, cars, everything, putting out a magazine. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit with 6 million members across the US, and we also do consumer protection advocacy. I'm here to urge an aye vote on HF 3794. Surveillance pricing is an affordability issue and an enormous source of frustration for consumers, which I know because we asked our members about it and we got an outpouring of responses. So one member, for example, told us about their practice of clearing their browser history while searching for flights and seeing the prices change. Another member shared their experience of shopping online for an electric razor, seeing a discount code, then looking at a more expensive razor, and then navigating back to the original razor only to find that the discount was now gone. Another member shared that when they use a VPN and change their location, the IP address that kind of tells other websites where you are in the country, they saw lower prices for flights. Consumers shouldn't have to be playing these games. They shouldn't have to use a VPN to pretend they're in a different city just to figure out if they're being played. They shouldn't be worried that if they check out a more expensive product, it'll impact the price of other products they see. And these are their lived experiences, but they're examples borne out by investigative journalism too. So one example, an investigative journalist writing for the outlet San Francisco Gate, SF Gate, did this controlled experiment where they looked at prices offered for a specific hotel room in Manhattan on a specific date, and then varied his system, browser, cookies, location, that's his computer's IP address. And when he found that when he changed his IP address from the Bay Area to locations like Phoenix or Kansas City, the prices for that exact same hotel room on the same night dropped by more than $200 per night in one instance and more than $500 per night in another instance. I've submitted some written testimony that includes several other examples of surveillance pricing, along with some suggestions CR has to ensure the bill works well for consumers and the marketplace writ large. And I just want to address the discount issue as well, because I know it's already come up today and I suspect it'll continue to come up in conversation. This bill already has a really thoughtful exemption for these kind of commonly understood group discounts that are kind of tied in some ways to people's personal data, right? So they need to be addressed in the bill. That's, your veteran discount, your senior discount, what have you. There's one more narrowly crafted discount exemption we would suggest adding, and I'm happy to talk more about that issue. It's something we've given a lot of thought to, though, because discounts based on personal data, people's click rates, demographics, search history, inferences about their income, these do need a bit of sunlight for. These do need a bit of sunlight because we can't live in a world where the prices that people ultimately pay after discounts are secret. And there's evidence of some pretty creepy, honestly, profiling happening in the world of discounts. So happy to speak more to that, but I know we've got a lot of folks trying to testify and you're trying to hear a lot of bills today. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you, and if you could just stay on Zoom if there's any questions from members. Next up, we have Jenny Hill, followed by Jonathan Cotter. If you could please come to, Jenny Hill is online. If you could please just state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, and thank you, chairs and committee members. My name is Jenny Hill, and I'm the owner of Avant Garden, a coffee shop and independent bookstore in downtown Anoka. I appreciate the opportunity to testify to the committee today about the challenges I face as a small business owner and what surveillance pricing could mean for my business and our customers. Avant Garden is a community staple in Anoka. We are passionate about building civic engagement by hosting ongoing events and establishing partnerships with trusted organizations to raise awareness and donations for mutual aid. We are currently preparing to sponsor the Anoka County Library's Summer Reading Challenge. Last summer was our first time with this sponsorship, and this resulted in over 1,000 donations to reading participants, adults and children. This year, we anticipate even more. We do this work not because we are independently wealthy, but because we see the benefits firsthand of an established reading culture and what that brings to our community. We have built a strong sense of goodwill due to our outreach. However, we experience the inability to compete with big box stores and online retailers. Every day, we encounter readers who are delighted to find our store and enjoy the browsing experience and exposure to titles they likely would not have discovered if it were not for us. It is very common to have an in-depth conversation about their discovery in hopes they will buy the book from us and support our business, only to have them take a picture of it instead and find it available for sometimes less than cost on Amazon. This scenario in itself is an impossible one to compete with, and I can't imagine what surveillance pricing would do for us in our community. In conclusion, I hope this committee will take action to put meaningful guardrails around the practice of surveillance pricing and help ensure a level playing field for small businesses and their customers. I want to thank Representative Greenman for her leadership on this issue and would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Jonathan Cotter, followed by Nina DeSalvo. That chair. Welcome to the
Should have
committee.
learned from the last bill, Madam Chair.
Welcome to the committee. State your name for the record and proceed with your testimony, please.
Thank you. Chair Cagle, Chair O'Driscoll, and members of the committee, my name is Jonathan Cotter, Director of Healthcare and Commerce Policy with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce and our 6,300 member businesses across the state, we appreciate the intent behind this proposal. Consumers and workers should be treated fairly in the marketplace. However, we have significant concerns with House File 3794 as amended. The bill regulates what it defines as surveillance data, automatic decision systems, and surveillance price discrimination, terms broad enough to encompass routine behavioral and transactional information used in business analytics. Across retail, hospitality, logistics, manufacturing and technology sectors, employers rely on automated tools to manage inventory, prevent fraud, administer loyalty programs, respond to demand, and structure compensation systems. These are foundational components of modern commerce and often lower cost to consumers. Although the bill contains exclusions for cost-based pricing, public discounts, insurance risk data, and federally regulated credit decisions, the boundaries between prohibited conduct and those exclusions may be difficult to apply in practice. For example, the bill allows price differences based on differences in cost incurred to provide a good or service, but it may be challenging for employers to determine what types of data inputs or operational factors qualify under that standard. While the bill includes definitions and exclusions, businesses may still struggle to determine how those provisions apply to common pricing and compensation tools used in modern business operations. That ambiguity creates meaningful compliance risk. Employers would be forced to self-interpret complex definitions with potential enforcement consequences. Regulatory uncertainty increases legal exposure, slows innovation, and discourages investment. Beyond just the pricing of goods, this bill similarly oversteps into management of workplaces directly, seeking to impose new regulatory frameworks addressing what the bill characterizes as surveillance-based wage discrimination. Following recent substantial changes in the workplace regulatory environment over the past 3 years, employers need to have the autonomy to make staffing decisions and provide wages, benefits, and schedules that are appropriate for their workplace and responsive to workplace needs. Workplaces in Minnesota already are heavily regulated. The Chamber continues to oppose the increasing number of workplace mandates by the legislature to interfere with this dynamic. For these reasons, we cannot support House File 3794 as drafted. Thank you for your consideration of our position.
Thank you. Next up is Nina DeSalvo. Nina? Going once?
Should be online.
No. All right, I don't see Nina. Is there any members of the public wishing to testify? Please go up, and if you could please make your remarks short, we would like to move to member discussion, so, thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, members of the committee, for having me here. My name is Tara Hoops. I am with the Chamber of Progress, as mentioned, a tech industry association that works to ensure all people benefit from technological advances. I am here to respectfully urge you to oppose HF 3794. At a time when the cost of living is the #1 issue facing American families, this bill asks Minnesota to ban speculative, unproven harms while putting real consumer savings at risk. Despite years of headlines about surveillance pricing, there is no comprehensive evidence that consumers are being systematically harmed by personalized pricing. This shouldn't be a surprise because, as I mentioned before, retail is fiercely competitive. Consumers can compare prices instantly just from a click of a button. What companies actually use data for is to compete harder for your business. This bill would ban the personalized savings that Minnesota families already use and depend on. For example, your grocery store could send you a coupon on the cereal your kids eat every week. Your local coffee shop can send you a discount because you haven't visited in a while. A streaming service offers you a lower rate to come back after you have canceled. A small brand tries to build a following by offering a targeted deal to shoppers most likely to be interested. These definitions are so broad that they sweep in virtually all of these practices. Any data a business collects, from purchase history to location to browsing activity, counts as surveillance data. Any software that helps inform a price qualifies as automated decision system. The result is that everyday discounts, targeted promotions, and loyalty rewards all fall on the wrong side of the ban. The bill's narrow exemptions do not solve the problem. There is no exemption for loyalty program, even though 70% of consumers say they value them, and many of lower income households rely on them when choosing where to shop. Consumers, as I mentioned, are not passive in this exchange. 91% say that they are willing to share this data in exchange for discounts and rewards, and the families who rely on them need them the most. As I mentioned, digital coupons alone can save households more than $1,400 a year. Beyond the pricing ban, this bill imposes disclosures and dispute requirements on any business using an automated decision system for pricing, and the bill's definition captures any software that assists a pricing decision. A restaurant owner using a pricing tool, a retailer using inventory management software, a small business owner even using a spreadsheet, all would be required to publish data accuracy procedures, respond to individual consumer inquiries for how their prices are set, and create formal dispute processes. The cost for larger businesses, of course, would be substantial here, even with a dedicated team of legal services. But for small businesses, that burden is going to be prohibitive. As I mentioned before, many bills have popped up around the country on this, and they have either stalled or failed because many people do come to the conclusion you cannot ban these types of algorithmic pricing without also banning the everyday savings that families count on. The alleged harm is speculative. The consumer savings are not, and that is why I respectfully urge you to oppose. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And we will be moving to member discussion now. So one of the reasons that this bill was attractive to me is because of, our society is based on capitalism, and for capitalism, we need free markets, we need competitiveness, and we need transparency. And I really see, this price setting or the surveillance pricing really enables companies to hide the prices. They're extracting more wealth from the middle class. It's rewarding data monopolies instead of competition, allowing algorithmic collusion, discriminatory pricing, and number one, just eroding trusts in the market. And so I'm really happy that you brought this bill. Representative Elkins, I have you on the list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of observations. I think earlier we heard testimony from the grocers about the constraints of the way prices are maintained, and I think most of the cases that really resonate are pretty much limited to e-commerce examples. So a newer e-commerce business would have all new technology systems, none of the constraints that legacy brick and mortar businesses would have. And almost all of the really egregious examples we're seeing here seem to be limited to e-commerce. And I would just, urge us to keep that in mind. So I think we're laying both of these bills over. Reading through I would encourage members to read the Consumer Reports letter. I think it's got some really good constructive suggestions in it as well. But I'm glad we're taking this on now and kind of getting ahead of the curve, because it may not be that serious a problem yet, but it clearly is emerging as a serious problem that's worthy of our close study.
Thank you, Representative Elkins. Representative Allen? I had you on the list from last time. No? Okay. Representative Smith?
Thank you, Chair. I can't fathom being against this bill. I think this is a pretty fundamental American Minnesotan value. I would challenge anyone to go find two Minnesotans, go to a store, buy a package of diapers, and then compare, and one paid $11 and one paid $13. At a very basic level, those two Minnesotans are going to say, that's not fair. It's not going to sit well with them. Then imagine that you tell them the reason for that different price is because the social media accounts you've been on, some of the websites you use have been selling your data to that store. Or last week you saved 12 cents on your dozen eggs and joined their loyalty program, but you, unbeknown to yourself, gave access to that store to your browsing history. And so now they know exactly what you will pay and will raise your prices based on that. Whether you got the lower price or the higher price, those two Minnesotans are going to say, that's wrong. We don't want that to be a part of our economy and our society. That's what this bill does. Surveillance pricing is ceding more and more control to corporations, to the corporate class. Many of them are owned and operated by members of the Epstein class. And they are continually wanting more control over every single moment in our lives. And for too long, for decades, we as policymakers have ceded their ability to control how much money goes into the pockets of Minnesotans through their wages. That's why wages are stagnating. Now, through technology, those same companies have figured out how to change the value of that dollar in your pocket when you're at the store. How much money, your hard-earned money, buys your family. That is wrong. It is not a conservative or progressive ideal. It is an American ideal that people should pay the same for the same product that they get in the same store, and that people should be able to plan their lives, their budgets, how much things cost, based on a fair market system. This is a great bill. I'm happy to support it, and we need to be active in this space. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Is there any other further discussion from the committee? Well, I just want to share, I know Representative Heitzman was really concerned about if this is actually happening. And before session started, we did a little experiment. And my CA here has a twin, identical twin. And they live in the same household. They're still together on their phone plans, trying to cost save. And so we asked him and his brother to do a little experiment. And from their house, from their separate phones, they both ordered Ubers to the Mall of America. And Sam's here was consistently $9 more. And we could not figure out why. And one of the reasons we might think is because of the percentage of the battery. We've heard that a lot of these rideshare companies will surge price when your battery is super low. So because they know that, oh crap, your phone's gonna die, I need a ride now. And so we were able to do this experiment and saw the price differences, have the screenshots. We kept the receipts, so to say. And so this is happening. The testifier from Consumer Reports, if you go on their TikTok, they have a video about the car seat in the Target in St. Paul, so they can show you right there that this is actually happening right here in our city. And so I think that this is a really valuable piece of legislation. We will be laying it over now, but we do intend to vote on it. We're working on some of the fiscal, trying to figure out fiscal, and want to get some feedback from folks. We are always willing to work on these things, but I think this is a really good piece of legislation, and we will vote it out on the committee before deadline. And so Chair O'Driscoll, do you have anything to add at all?
No, Madam Chair. The concepts that we've been talking about today are very intriguing, and I think that Republicans do see the value. It's a matter of how we get from where we are, the steps that we're going to take to get there, to make sure that we're not getting other unintended consequences. We don't want to overshoot the mark. So if you have some amendment ideas that you want to run by members, you've heard their questions as the bill authors, we certainly are interested in trying to get to a solution. But I think we all agree that the bills need some additional work. It's a little rough around the edges, and so looking to hear more about changes that the authors are bringing forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Representative Greenman, would you like to wrap up, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm looking forward, Representative O'Driscoll and everybody, to your ideas. I think what you heard, and it's the last example, we don't actually know how they're setting prices, and these companies will not tell us. And so when we're talking about how we regulate this, in many cases, when we're talking about loyalty programs, discounts, we're talking about all of these algorithms, it would be much easier if companies came to the table and said, here's how we're doing it, and we could work collectively with them. But their value is actually in keeping this from us. When we talk about the pricing revolution, right, this is a revolution, and we even saw this today in both of these bills. The people who are leading this revolution are the folks who are the businesses and their trade groups who are building these models to make more margins, to collect more money. And the people who are paying the cost, the consumers, the small businesses, the workers, are the ones who will pay the price. And what we're doing here, our job here, is to make sure that the incentives in our economy work for everybody. So we don't want to give these businesses a reason to consolidate, and we heard about the consolidation. The reason that the businesses are consolidating in many cases is the data. If we don't do something about this, people will have more and more incentive to collect more and more data on us. That's a problem. We also don't want to give people the incentive to, I'm trying not to use the word, a swear word, to rip off.
Don't do it.
I won't do it. To rip off the people who are maybe most desperate, right? If you need to buy a product right now, we know this, it's expensive to be poor. And if people have data on you, they will charge you more costs. So when I think about the work we can do here, we should be on the side of the consumers, the small businesses, the workers, and not the trade associations and the businesses who actually will make money ripping us off. So I look forward to that work, and I look forward to working with you and getting a vote on this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will lay over House File 3749 as amended. 3794 as amended.